the Kargil war? It happened in the winter of 1999. What if China, still smarting from the Doklam debacle, borrows a leaf from its Pakistani ally and also attempts a Kargil-type adventure? It's a possibility. Here's a look at India's vulnerabilities and strengths.
Imagine a Kargil-type intrusion by China along the line of actual control. It's not inconceivable. A Chinese senior foreign ministry official warned during the Doklam standoff that they could enter in force in Kashmir or Uttarakhand. Going by the frequency of Chinese intrusions into Indian territory last month alone, this could already be a fact. We also have the Depsang intrusion in April 2013, when Chinese troops entered around 19 kilometers deep, set up camp for some days and then withdrew. Senior Indian Army commanders who have served on the China frontier say there are few areas where such an intrusion is possible. In Ladakh, the most likely area of entry for Chinese troops could be Daulat Beg Oldi and the adjacent Depsang plains. Daulat Beg Oldi is at an altitude of more than 16,000 feet. The area is remote and road and other infrastructure is still to develop. Therefore, getting there is not easy, even though the Indian Air Force has an airfield since 2013. The adjoining Depsang plains are also difficult terrain, and during winter, when temperatures plunge below -50 degrees centigrade, physical movement for men and vehicles is very tough. In other parts of Ladakh, including Demchok and Chumar, road infrastructure has developed on the Indian side, although the Chinese infrastructure is far more advanced. In Uttarakhand, it is a similar story. 3 districts on the Chinese border: Uttarkashi, Chamoli and Pithoragarh. Chinese helicopters are known to fly over the Barahoti pasture grounds in Chamoli. The motorable road ends in Rimkhin, where the last Indian post is. Thereafter, the Indo-Tibetan border police has to walk. In Sikkim, no movement of Chinese troops is possible without it coming to India's attention. This is because Indian troops are deployed on higher ground. They are looking down on Chinese troop positions, and any movement out of the ordinary would be noticed. But Arunachal Pradesh is a major concern. It has several valleys and it is impossible to guard or block the entry to every valley. Infrastructure is poor, roads and bridges regularly get washed out during the monsoon. Add to that, the road building season lasts only a few months before the rain sets in. So a Kargil-type war cannot be ruled out. But it is important to note that India today uses satellites to monitor its neighbours. India also has drones for medium and low-level surveillance of the borders. And since mountains require lots of troops, military preparations by China can be relatively easily detected. India must keep up its guard. Bureau Report, WION.
Joining us this evening from Shanghai, Professor Chen Hong is the director of the East China Normal University's Australian Studies Centre. And in the studio with me is Harshvi Pant, distinguished fellow and head of the ORF Strategic Studies Programme. Good evening to both of you. Professor Chen, right, I'm told we will join him, he'll be joining us, in fact, in just a bit. Harsh Pant, does it sound preposterous?
No, I think the reality of the border is such that we have to take these considerations into account. Though I think whether or not China decides to intervene at such a massive scale would depend largely on what political calculation they are making rather than on operational and tactical realities on the ground. I think the way Doklam was resolved and the way Doklam was initiated, I think tell you 2 different stories about perhaps what is happening within China and how they react to external pressures at times. So I think the way we have resolved Doklam perhaps tells us that at times you can stand up to the Chinese and deliver a message to them that, look, there are certain red lines that cannot be crossed. And they get the message. So we have seen a certain leveling down of the temperature. We have seen some, both at the political level, a message being sent out by both Mr. Xi and Mr. Modi that this is a very important relationship. So I think temperatures have gone down. But I think largely the operational reality of the border is such, as your report was discussing, that India remains very vulnerable because of our own problems.
If I could come in here, and Doklam was resolved, yes, and resolved after India stood up to China, but the timing of the resolution was also significant. It was at a time when China was very keen on having India participate in the BRICS summit. And while India showed maturity and it stood up to China, there are enough indications that the Chinese may still be smarting under what they saw as a slap on their face. And so with a resurgent Xi Jinping after the 19-party Congress, is it more likely that they will indulge in such adventurism?
Yes, I think they are still smarting under the outcome of what happened in Doklam. But I think it needs to be remembered that they're also, China is not as invulnerable as it looks, because after all, it is also fighting on a number of other fronts. Sure. So there are a number of other things that they have to take care of. And I think right now, the primary relationship that they are focused on is Mr. Trump. And Mr. Trump has given various, multiple signals insofar as where he wants to go. So I think it's not entirely evident to me that India would be the focus of their attention in the short to medium term. But yes, I think the incentives are enough, given that the border infrastructure, the military balance of power is skewed in their favor, that at times you can end up in a situation where suddenly you will face another Doklam-like situation.
Right, and this interestingly comes just ahead of the RIC meeting.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I think the message that has gone out from the two capitals after Doklam was that we want to build a stable and a relationship that can take forward positive direction in various issues that confront India and China. It would be interesting to see what happens as a result of the RIC summit, the RIC meeting. We have known that these meetings have not been very productive in the past. There is an interesting twist this time that Russia has suddenly become very vocal about Indian concerns. Russia is saying energy, India needs to be there. Pakistan cannot be cannot be seen as a contemporary of India in that sense. So I think Chinese tend to work, are very sensitive to balance of power considerations. So I think we'll see if the balance of power seems to be shifting away from the Chinese in the RIC or in the larger BRICS summit, given that we know that the outcome of BRICS was also one which suddenly China went in and decided to support India's case against Pakistan and was willing to let the names come in the statement. So I think it will be interesting to see what sort of pressure Russia can build into the triangle of RIC.
Professor Chen is, I'm told, with us. Professor, what are the chances of China indulging in such adventurism, launching a winter offensive?
I don't think I should not say this is a winter offensive, because according to my understanding, actually, also according to the spokesman of the Ministry of Defense of China, actually it was stated very clearly that since the Doklam region is Chinese sovereign region, so territory, so that actually there should be no argument for China to deploy its troops. So in its true sense, that actually there's no dispute, and also there should be no disputes that actually China deploys its troops in that region, and this is not a winter offensive at all.
There is no dispute as long as you agree to China's line. What does it even mean?
Well, I think what Professor is getting there at partly is that the dispute as such was about Chinese construction at the Tri-Junction.
I think what he's saying is, as we see it, there's no dispute.
Yes, because the entire
argument if China is deploying troops on its territory, what it calls its territory.
Yes, so but again, that's part of the contention that not only that India but also Bhutan does not consider that as part of Chinese territory. Both India and Bhutan have a claim on that territory, and I think that needs to be resolved peacefully rather than through a projection of force, and that would be the expectation both in Delhi and Thimphu.
Professor, let me rephrase my question then. How is it playing out domestically in China? Is Doklam something that they've gotten over, or do they see what happened earlier this year as the first episode in what may become a long-drawn border struggle?
Because actually this dispute actually started actually in mid-June, and it took actually more than 70 days to resolve in peaceful means. But actually, although it was resolved in a peaceful way, but it deepened the differences and also this fissure between the two countries, and also changed the strategic positioning by China of India, and also even I think it might be changing the direction of China-Indian relations. Because actually, according to Chinese understanding, actually this land is actually simply, well, if there's any dispute, it should be between Bhutan and China, not between India and China. And thankfully, of course, on the 5th of September, when President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi met, and actually, that was a very good sign. And they will talk about this possibility of restart or to be resuming this positive cooperation. This is actually what we believe. Actually, this is a good sign for us to start.
I'm going to request you both to stay with us. China has been working, steadily to undermine India in this region. It has started doing this. It started rather in Nepal. It has been working on Bhutan for many years now. It has no diplomatic ties with that country. But through the mechanism of border talks, Beijing has been trying to build its influence there. Swedish author and China analyst Bertil Lintner told WION that China is trying to drive a wedge between India and Bhutan. Listen into this.
China has not resolved its border disputes. It's India and it's Bhutan. And if you take Bhutan as an example, because that's more easier to understand, Bhutan is the only neighboring country with which China does not maintain diplomatic relations. But they do maintain relations through these endless border talks, one after another, year after year. And there don't seem to be anywhere near a solution there. And what is so difficult to determine where the border between China and Bhutan should be? But it's a part of a diplomatic game where China is actually gradually expanding its influence in Bhutan. And they're using the border issue to get.
Do you agree with what he's saying?
Absolutely. I think, and a large part of the responsibility lies with us, with New Delhi, that we have not been mindful of our concerns of our neighbors. And I think there is a growing constituency in Bhutan that sees the future with China. And this is very dangerous because not that Bhutan wants to have a relationship with China, which I think is the right of any sovereign country. But I think that the direction of that relationship, especially in a context where you have a situation like Doklam can arise any time. And both Bhutan and India in many ways have significant similar interests. But I think what has happened post-Bhutan perhaps is a recognition both in Delhi and Thimphu that they need to work together. So I think the visit by the Bhutanese monarch to India signaled that the two countries are now on the same page with respect to with respect to China, because the kind of initiatives and the kind of discussions that he had at the top level with the Indian government, though he's only the nominal head of the government right now in Thimphu, suggests that the two countries now get it. And I think this is a good beginning, if at all, if only it has come after Doklam. Perhaps that would, that was supposed to be. But I think if that happens, it's a good start.
That's the only silver lining, some would say. But thanks very much, Harshvi Pant and Professor Chen, for joining us. And there's more on the India-China equation. In fact, India has been cleared to join the Wassenaar Arrangement, which is a multilateral grouping of 41 countries that coordinate policies relating to the export of arms and ammunition, dual-use equipment and sensitive technologies. India got the formal okay as the group met in Vienna late on Thursday for its annual plenary. A statement released at the end of the meeting said, and I'm quoting, Wassenaar Arrangement participating states reviewed the progress of a number of current membership applications and agreed at the plenary meeting to admit India, which will become the arrangement's 42nd participating state as soon as the necessary procedural arrangements for joining the WA are completed.